see nothing as universal consciousness. I see nothing as Brahman. In Advaita Vedanta, what is called Brahman or is nothingness. Because my guru, Nisargadatta Maharaj, has said that everything is nothing and nothing is everything. That's a very deep, profound statement. Because Brahman, if you see, is also, it has no attributes. You cannot describe it. It has no space. It has no shape. It has no color. Similarly, nothing cannot be described. And still it is everything. So, according to Nisargadatta Maharaj, everything is nothing and nothing is everything. And for me, that is Brahman. Advaita Vedanta basically connects with the ancient wisdom that comes from Indian scriptures. So, in Advaita Vedanta, your scriptures are very, very important. And your guru is very, very important. While in non-duality, contemporary non-duality, you need not connect back to scriptures. You need not speak about your gurus all the time because that knowledge is available now in the public domain now. So you just concentrate on self-realization. So I feel that in modern contemporary non-duality movement, there is a lack of bhakti, as we call it. Bhakti is devotion and love, which is a very important part of spirituality from the Indian point of view. Like I have a lot of love and bhakti in my heart for my gurus, which you probably is a choice when you talk about non-duality in the contemporary manner. Meditation, as popularly known, is just sitting in place and sitting in a cross-legged position and watching your breath and closing your eyes. That is a part of your meditation. In Advaita Vedanta, after you prepare for meditation and you sit down in this cross-legged position, you close your eyes and you breathe very slowly and nicely, and you concentrate on one thing consciously. That is meditation. 10 minutes of that situation is good enough. So you don't have any other thoughts coming in your mind. Maybe you can chant a mantra. Maybe you can just don't do anything if it is possible for you, which is the most difficult part for a lot of people. But with practice, you can master that. Just nothing in your mind. Just shallow breathing and nothing in your mind. Just that sense that I am a part of the environment. There's no separation. Everything is one. Non-separation. Again, that is just a part of meditation. The bigger part of meditation, according to Advaita Vedanta, is contemplation. Because we are, in Advaita Vedanta, we are on the path of knowledge. And knowledge is not going to grow if you don't contemplate. Because with Guru's guidance, you should contemplate on a lot of matters and question and debate, because you find all the answers. As I say, spirituality is a very simple thing. All you need to do is remove the cover of ignorance and the gold is there in front of you. Its only thing is our conditioning and bad learning is so strong that to remove that cover of ignorance is the most difficult part. So that is the difference I see between this point of view that meditation is not required. I don't really agree on this. I think the meditation is very, very important, but meditation means concentrating on one thing consciously in complete silence, sitting still, and after that, contemplation for at least 20 minutes in three different divisions: Shravan, going back to scriptures, Manan, and Nididhyasana. Definitely possible. That's why we have so many Westerners who have studied Buddhism, who have studied Advaita Vedanta, who have studied some other ancient religions. Even I've heard some South American religions. They have they speak about non-duality. The Native Americans, I believe, they have some concept. I've read one poem somewhere, and that person spoke about being with the wind, being, stuff like that, and it was so beautiful. And he spoke about non-separation. Non-separation is the right word. Instead of being one, is an expression sometimes not accepted by non-duality people, because when you say one, there is second. But in Advaita Vedanta, this expression is accepted, because that is why if things are very flexible. In non-duality, the correct expression is nothingness, as you earlier mentioned about nothingness. Because, and in Advaita Vedanta also, in non-duality expression is non-separation. So, but in Advaita Vedanta, being one with everything, that expression is also accepted because it is used by Swami Vivekananda. And so that's why we need gurus. We need gurus because they were of such immense higher IQ and higher knowledge that the words they used, they used them very responsibly. And that's why it whenever you are confused somewhere, going back to gurus and going back to scriptures removes all the confusions from your mind. I haven't, in scriptures, I haven't really given thought to time as such. It doesn't matter. For me, really, what really matters is self-realization. And time doesn't matter. I'm
Yes.
just blissed out and happy just by finding my true self, that I know that I am forever. The real I, not the I that I pose or others see. The real I is forever. My gurus are forever. They are everywhere. They were never born. Nisargadatta Maharaj has repeatedly said, I was never born, I never died. I'm always there. It's just the body that was born and that vanished. So you're forever. Everyone is. Your Atman is forever. This is a very interesting question, and I really I enjoy discussing Maya, because Maya is the most difficult part to discuss, because it's illusion. Maya is illusion, so illusion is going to fool you. So most important part about understanding Maya is to understand Maya and run away, because the illusion is going to grab you again. So Maya is to be understood in context with two things. First thing is Brahman, and second thing is Avidya. Avidya is ignorance, and Brahman is universal consciousness, and Maya is illusion. Now we all live 90% part of our lives, we live in Maya, in the world of duality, because we have no choice. We are born here, we are surrounded by duality. We live in Maya, but because of our quest of self-realization, and because of we are studying and we are on the path of knowledge, we uncover Brahman is inside me. Brahman is nothing outside me. Brahman is inside me, but it is covered with avidya, that is ignorance. That I take this life as real truth, that is my ignorance. So once I remove that ignorance, which is covering my Brahman, which is inside me, and I look around, Maya has vanished. There is no Maya. There is only absolute truth, which is already inside me. I don't have to go out somewhere in search of it. I only need to uncover it. And I look around and there is no Maya. So Maya is to be understood in context with avidya and Brahman. And now I run away from Maya. Thank you. Prakriti, I believe, is your base, your nature. Your nature is Prakriti. Even if I have, if someone gets angry quickly, that's his Prakriti, or it is nature basically in the real translation, I believe. But let me tell you also, since we are on this topic, uh, there's a bit. I'm not a purist thinker, though I'm connected with scriptures now. I started as an atheist to start with, and because I worked in the world of Maya, in a crowded place, in a completely materialistic world, so I embraced. I discovered is a wrong word. It's for self-realization. Only word is self-realization. You don't meet yourself. You don't discover yourself. You don't see yourself. You only realize yourself. So when I realize myself, I know that I am flawed, and I embrace myself as a flawed man, and it's fine. It's yeah, and I want to stay that way. I don't want to pose myself as a guru. I'm good as being a meditation teacher because my own standard of guru is very high. So and I'm happy with my gurus, four gurus. So being a flawed individual who is deeply interested in spirituality and who enjoys self-realization, uh, I have this weird combination of scriptures, gurus, and modern life and the world of duality I live in. There are many interpretations of Bhagavad Gita in India. Uh, there are dualistic interpretations of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is understood, Bhagwan Krishna, Lord Krishna, is understood uh, perceived as Brahman. While Adi Shankaracharya's interpretation of Bhagavad Gita is there is no person who is Brahman. It is, you cannot, it is without attributes. Nobody can describe it. There is no color, there is no shape. There's nothing higher than Brahman. Everything is inside Brahman. Everything is created by Brahman. That is the interpretation uh, of Brahman by Adi Shankaracharya. So I have studied Bhagavad Gita uh, with Adi Shankaracharya's commentary. So my understanding of Bhagavad Gita is very non-dualistic. But there are some very interesting things about Bhagavad Gita, which I personally really enjoy when I think about those points. Is everything has happened in Bhagavad Gita on a battlefield. Can you believe it? The whole discourse has happened on a battlefield, and that tells you the importance uh, of how practical those people were at that time. It's not when you have to pick up a weapon to protect your culture and heritage. Those people at that time, they never hesitated. That was their dharma. That is the right way of doing at that point of time. That's what Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna, that this is the time for you to pick up the weapon and do what is required, what is your dharma at that point of time. Similarly, Swami Vivekananda also tells you that dharma, any philosophy or even Advaita philosophy, is not useful if it is not applied to your real life, or if it is not used to enhance the lives of disadvantaged people or helping people. That is how he interpreted Advaita Vedanta, and he used Advaita Vedanta for the benefit of thousands of disadvantaged people. So it is the interpretation that what really matters about uh, Gita. And my interpretation was through my guru, and which was non-dualistic. Well, there are a lot of spiritual teachers in India who mix different philosophies. There are 6 basic philosophies known as darshanas in Sanatan. So a lot of knowledgeable gurus, they pick stuff from different darshanas and uh, understand. It's very difficult to explain, but my approach has always been only one darshana. I mean, I have followed only one darshana, which is Advaita Vedanta. I never strayed to any other darshana. Only area where I have borrowed some stuff from Yoga Darshana is the last 3 stages, last 3 limbs of yoga, those 8 limbs, which is sadhana, dhyana, and dharana, which I think they're very useful for meditation. So I have used that part from yoga. And I think the only pure non-dualistic philosophy from Hindu or Sanatan religion is Advaita Vedanta, truly speaking. There are very confusing scriptures also, as scriptures advised to you by your gurus, like for example, Upanishads. They are very important. Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras. These 3 scriptures are very important in non-dualistic philosophy. Yeah, that's it. I mean, and there are different names, like yogis generally come from the Yoga Darshana. A Jnani comes from the path of knowledge. So a Swami or a Jnani who is on the path of knowledge and who also believes in meditation and contemplation is the kind of a person who would know non-duality very well.